Welcome to the Crack House Chronicles, your favorite true crime podcast. I am Donnie, and with me is a man that wants everyone to know that when he goes on a cruise, he's sleeping in the lifeboat area. It's Dale.
Yeah, with a little life jacket on. What'd you call it today?
A boat coat.
Yeah, boat coat.
Put on your boat coat.
Got to put on your boat coat and a bottle of liquor.
Sleep next to the lifeboats. Be one of the first ones on, huh?
That's right.
Yep. What's going on today, dude?
You, same old, same old.
Same old, same old.
How about that?
Man, I love same old, same old.
That's good stuff.
I love just being consistent.
That's right.
Yeah. I don't like anything out of the norm.
Straight down the middle.
Yeah, that's me. Just keep between the mayonnaise and the mustard.
What the hell?
Yeah. Before we get going, dude, I want to remind everybody to go to the store page, check it out, get you some merch. Warmer weather's coming, get you a short sleeve shirt, get you a tank top or something.
Get something.
Yeah.
You can be like our old buddy Matt Lytle.
Lytle.
Yeah, man. He sent me a picture. It's awesome. He's got him a hoodie and some stickers on his laptop. He got it all. He got himself all hooked up.
Man, he is just promoting the Crack House, ain't he?
How about that?
I love it.
That's appreciated. We appreciate that, Matt. Thanks a lot, and thanks for sending me the pictures, and I will post those shortly.
Yeah, put them on our socials and let everybody see how good
right.
he looks.
That's right.
That's right. I love it. Yeah, man.
Good stuff.
Yep. If anybody wants to go to Apple Podcast and leave a 5-star rating review, you can do that.
5-star. Get on there and do it.
Yeah. And we'll give you a big old shout out.
That's right.
We will certainly
Unless
do
you like little ones, and then we'll still give you a big one.
Yeah, we'll still give you a big old shout out. You get a big shout out anyway. It don't matter.
That's right.
Yep. Anything else, dude? We're going to get going on this episode.
Oh, man. Let's do it.
Because we got this is different.
Very.
Yeah. Different than what we normally do. You know, we put the word out a while back that we want anyone who knows Asha Degree or has any connection to Asha that knew her.
Or possibility, or whatever.
Yeah, that knew anything about her or any information.
Yes.
We put that out there.
We did.
And we've had a lot of response to it. A lot of people emailed us, called us.
Put us over on Reddit.
Yeah. We've had a lot of information and a lot of people talk to us about it.
Yep.
But we got an email.
Yeah. About 10 miles long.
Yeah. And this lady that we're going to introduce right here in just a second, she has got one heck of a story, man. But I want to introduce Heather Terrell. Heather, welcome to the show.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Pretty good. How are you, ma'am?
I'm doing okay.
We're good.
Oh, good. Before we get going, just tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, well, I live in South Mississippi, about like way south, like Foxworth, Mississippi. We have like one Dollar General. That's all. But and I live with me and my children. I have 4 children, and 3 of mine own, and then one that's Eric's, his son, my stepson, and my eldest son. He has cerebral palsy. We've had it's been a battle with him, but God has been good to us, blessed with it, blessed us, and he has cerebral palsy, but he's still fighting, hanging in there like a champ, and I just sit at home and raise them and do the mom thing all day.
Wow.
But,
Well, I'm telling you, if you only got $1 General, it must be small. Because we in small, we got a pile of them.
yeah, we got one. We might have a stop sign.
But Heather, we're going to get into your story, and we're going to start on April the 9th of the year 2000.
Okay.
Tell us how that day started for you.
I just remember being outside in the woods behind my parents' house, and that was something that I did every day after school. I would get off the bus and kind of check in with my mom, and we live in it's a bunch of woods just all around us. We live on a big long driveway, and I would just go out there in the woods and do clubhouses and just kind of sing to myself. I enjoy singing, but I was out there playing, and I remember when I went back there that day, it was louder. Like, there was more noise. I could hear, commotion. I could hear off in the distance there's a road that runs kind of parallel with my parents' driveway, and then it keeps on going. But I could hear off in the distance there's a bunch of commotion going on. So I wasn't supposed to go, I was only supposed to be a little bit behind my house, but I wondered where. I just kept listening and following, kind of moving until I finally I walked back. I walked for a little while, but it kept getting louder and louder. And I finally got to the bushes, the edge of the trees, and I could see the road, Shady Grove Church Road. I could see it, and I could see there was a house right there, and there there was a little boy that rode. Well, there's actually 3 little boys that rode on our bus. Eric, Jason, Randy, Harvey. They rode on our bus, and it was their grandmother. And I could see at the grandmother's house there was cars everywhere. Like, but all the family members was gathered around, and kind of, I could just tell something was going on there. So I wondered. I was like, I hope she's okay. And I wondered where Eric and Jason were at. They were the younger brothers, and they were closer in my age. Like 1 year or 2. One of them was 1 year under me, and the other one was 2 years under me. But they were close to my age, and I wondered where they were at. I wanted to talk and ask about their grandmother. Is she okay? And then I wanted to flirt with. I was 11. I wanted to flirt with them and just be seen. So I went over the fence and stood by the road, and I was standing there like cranking, getting my hair all fixed up. And I was sitting there fixing my hair, and I was like, "You idiots! You don't even live on this road. Like, you just walked in the middle of the woods to get here, and they're going to be wondering, where'd you come from if they see you?" So I decided I would be like mortified if they see me, like typical preteen girl stuff. And I was sitting, I was like, just I was going to get back in the woods, and then I heard some movement, and I heard little boys talking, and I realized there was Eric and Jason. Like, I recognized their voice. It was in a bend to the road. To the right of me, there was a bend right there, and I could hear them coming up around this bend. And I was sitting there, and I was like, "Oh gosh, what do I do? Do I just like jump back in the bushes? And if I'm standing in the bushes, how weird am I going to look in the bushes?" And I was like, "Well, if I do, but if I do go in the bushes and I like stay hidden, then I don't know how to get back home because I followed the sounds over here." So I was like, "I'm going to have to walk by the road. I'm just going to have to walk right by home, I guess, and just walk home from there." And I was like, I wasn't liking that idea, but I was sitting there and I was leaned down, like kind of breathing, catching my breath, and I heard a car coming from the left side of the road, to the left of me. And I was like, well, that's awesome. We live in a little community. There's like nobody around. I'm sure these people are friendly. I'll just ask them for a ride real quick, and I'll pass the boys right up. They won't never even see me, and then I'll go, and I can just walk home from the end of Shady Grove to my driveway. And I was sitting there thinking about it, and then they slowed down. They're already going slow, and it was a white car. It was a 2-door car. They drove up, and it was a woman driving, and a man was in the passenger seat. And I was already kind of leaned over with my hands like on my knees, and they come slowing down, and then I like leaned towards the car and asked them. I wanted to ask them, can I get the ride? Yeah, and when I did, the man grabbed me from me. He grabbed the shirt of my the collar of my shirt and the back of my pants, and he snatched me, and he said something. I don't remember what he said, but it didn't even register. Nothing bad. Like, I was just like thinking, all right, that's okay. I'm getting in, but I still didn't even. I was so naive. I didn't register with me. And then as I was going through the middle of because he drug me through the front seat and into the back seat. Like, he was in the passenger, and he drug me over him. And as I was going over him, I seen movement down on the floorboard behind the driver side. And at first it didn't register what it was. And then it was a little girl. She looked up. I seen her eyes look up at me, and she was squatted down behind the driver's seat. It was she was African American. She was a little black girl, and she was a few years younger than me. I could tell I just knew she was a couple years younger than me, but her wrists were raw. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
It's okay.
Her wrists were raw, and then she looked at the back seat, like towards the trunk, and I just looked towards the trunk, and when I did, there was a boy with his shoulders up in the back seat of the vehicle, and the rest of his body was in the trunk, and he had a plastic bag, like a big plastic bag, and it was clear, and it was wrapped around his neck and wrapped around his head, and he had a belt tied, like really tight. You could see the skin kind of bulging out around it, and his eyes were gray, and he was laying, and then inside this bag was like fluid, and it looked like maybe vomit, but it had a smell like a strong gas smell coming from it. So I just assumed it was gas, but the little boy his eyes were open, and they were gray, and he was his mouth his face was swole. And then I kind of looked back at the little girl with my eyes big, and then I looked towards the driver and the man, and I said, please. And the man wrapped 2 chains really quick, like they were anchored to the back of his seat, and they come all the way down, and he wrapped them really quick and told me to shut the fuck up, and he pushed me right as we, then this, I mean, it all happened really quick, but this is right as we was passing Eric Jason, like, he pushed me down, and I tried to wiggle my hands a little bit and just try to let them see that something was going on. And then he shoved me in the back seat and shoved me in the third floorboard, and I was sitting there, and I was like, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe this is really happening. And I started thinking about what am I gonna do? I got chains on me. Do I jump out? Do I try to jump across him and just like and let it drag me? And if I do let it drag me, should I wait and let it drag me by my uncle's store? Because my uncle has a store. It's about a mile from, and it's actually about a half a mile from my house and my mom's house. And I was like, maybe I could just let it drag me right there, and at least they would have like a blood trail or something. And I was just thinking about, I was staring at the little boy, and I was like, is that how they're going to find me? Am I going to be? And I was sitting there trying to figure everything out, and then all of a sudden the car stopped, like slowed down, and I felt it turn like into the left, like to the left and back up, and it started to turn around, and it's going back in the direction it had come from. And then I was like, it didn't make sense to me, and I don't know a whole lot of what was behind there. Like, my parents, I was young, I was 11, and we had traveled around in the area, but we didn't really go past Shady Grove. So I kind of started panicking, and then I was like, I wonder why are they turning around? Why? And then the car started slowing down some more, and I was like, they're going to try to get the boys. They're going to try to get them boys, because I didn't know if maybe he seen me try to flick my hand. I'm not sure, but I felt like he was going to get the boys. And so I took my back and I pushed it up against the back of the passenger seat and just waited and was listening and trying to wait. And then I know that the little girl tried to comfort me, and I snatched from her. I feel really bad about it, but I snatched from her, and it hurt her feelings. We never spoke or said anything to each other. I just snatched back from her, and I wasn't trying to be mean. I just couldn't. I didn't want to connect with anybody. I just wanted to get out.
Yeah.
So I just sat there and I was waiting, and I got really quiet, and then the cars kept slowing down, and then all of a sudden I felt it stop, and then I heard one of the boys go, and took like a big gasp in, and then all of a sudden the man in the passenger seat, the man in the passenger seat flung the door open and jumps out of the car and goes running after the little boy. And so I'm sitting there in the car, and I'm like, well, I mean, they're not going to be any help to me there. He's chasing him down the road. And so I was sitting there, and I got really angry. I just thought about, all this is because I didn't listen to my parents. I should have listened. I'm not even supposed to be this far. And I didn't mind them. And so I got really upset, and I just thought about my parents and my brother looking for me. And I got really mad, and I just I just shoved as hard as I can. And when I did, it felt like the chains got really tight around me, but then all of a sudden they did a release, like a release movement. And when I did it, I don't remember. I don't remember if the seat, I don't know how I ended up. All I know is I had felt a release, and then I come through the hole, and I landed on the pavement outside on the road, and I was facing back into the car, and I still had the chains all on me. And I was like, well, I mean, I'm still hooked, so I went pulling the chains, and the woman, noticed that I like the door, the seats did something, and I fell out, and she seen me grabbing the chains up, and I looked at her because I still thought, for some reason, that she might, I don't know, for some reason I thought maybe she would still help me for some reason, and but she didn't. She hollered, Terrell, and the little girl had come to the door where the opening. At this time, she'd come up to the opening, and the woman driving grabbed her hand behind her back, and tried to made a swooping motion, two little motions, trying to grab the little girl. And she hollered something at her. I don't know what she hollered, but she hollered, and the little girl stopped at the doorway. She stopped and looked at me, and I was pulling the chain, still trying to see if they were unhooked, and they were, and I realized they were, she looked at me just like, she just looked like run is what she looked like. She looked at me as, and so I took off, and before I got up, I'm sorry, let me slow down. Before I got up, as that woman said, Terrell, it scared me to death, right? Because I was sitting there wondering how am I about to leave this little girl, because she looked at me like run, but I don't. I'm scared, but I don't want to leave her because she's smaller than me, and like I feel kind of, I don't know, I don't know, but
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
That's
No,
all right.
it's okay.
But
Take your time.
she said Terrell, and it scared me because she said my last name, and I was like, whoa.
Then it freaked you out a little more. Because then you're
Yes,
thinking
sir.
they know
Yes,
your name,
sir.
right? Yeah, go ahead.
They say my name, and I'm like, well, did they come just for me, or did somebody? I didn't know. It scared me. So then I looked towards the man to see where he was at, and then when I looked at him, he had his hand up in the air and was, he was running, but he had his hand in the air, and the little boy that was running ahead of him was turning his head around, like from looking behind. Had just looked behind him, and he was looking back straight, and he was running, and his legs kind of wobbled, and the man had his hand in there, and he heard that woman screaming, and so he stopped, and like looked back at her like, what? And he spotted me, and then at that time, that's when I was standing up with James, and then he took off running from the front of the vehicle, and so I was like, okay, so I took off running from the back, and I went and used my legs, and they were like noodles, nothing. I'd always said, as I was growing up, I'd always said, hey, that wouldn't happen to me. I would run, I did it, but no, when I went to move, my legs wouldn't even work. And I remember just praying. I was like, God, I'm just going to try to just make the movements, and I'm just going to just make movements, and you do the rest. And I remember I took off in the back, and he actually made it to the fence. I started running to the fence line that bordered the woods, and he made it there before I did. And he kind of turned around and kind of smirked at me a little bit. And I was running up to him, and something just said, throw the chains. Just throw the chains and go with them. So I took them, and as I was running, I just held them over my head, and I slung them, and I just let my feet go with them, and they went right behind, and and I landed over the fence. And I stood up, and I took off running, and I knew that the chains were going to snag on something. This is like a pretty dense, like woods everywhere, and I knew they were going to snag, but I was like, it doesn't matter. I'm going to run. If I had to pull my arms off and run, I'm headed to my mama. Is all I could think about. I'm going to get to my mama. And so I ran as hard as I could. And then all of a sudden they did snag. The chain snagged, and it cut me a flip. I cut the flip in the air, and then I just remember falling and rolling. And then I landed into like a patch of sand. It was just a little patch of sand in the middle of this dense woods. Strange, but I landed in the sand. And then I kind of was like, did I lose him? And doubtfully he went over the fence. And I looked up, and there he's busting over the fence, coming and down. It looks like he took 2 steps and made it. And it took me forever to get down. But he just comes barreling down down the woods and towards me. So I got back up, and I had to go through some briars. It was pretty thick. And so I kind of wrestled through the briars. And then I got to the clearing a little bit more, and so I went to run really fast, and then something grabbed my foot, and I thought that this man has got me. So I kind of hollered, but then I looked, and as I fell, it was just wire. It was this wire coming up from the ground, like it was an old fence that had got buried, like from years and years up under there. And so I realized it was just a wire, but as I fell down, and was getting it out from around my foot, I looked, and a man's coming through the briars, still coming towards me. And so I was like, I gotta run and just don't fall. If you fall and knock yourself out, you're gonna wake up. Or you're gonna turn out, if you even wake up. So I just ran again, and I could hear him. He's still coming for me, still coming. And I didn't know what else to do. So something said, just stop, just quit running, just be quiet. And all I could see was 2 trees, and it was 2 trees, and then it got back with the briars again, and he's going to catch me. So I jumped behind the second tree, and there's like a little root sticking behind it, so I couldn't even jump right behind it. I had to go to the side, and I was just trying to mold myself into this tree. And And then I could hear him make it to the opening, a little break in the woods, and I knew he was right there upon me. And I could hear my breathing was just like it was rapid. Because I was so panicked and so excited that I was like, well, he's gonna hear me. He's gonna hear you breathing, and he's gonna come out. So I just held my breath, and I remember I held my breath and just sat there. And I heard him. He started screaming. He said, "I'm gonna find you. Whenever you come out, I'll be right here waiting. I'll always be waiting for you. I'm gonna find you." And like the last time he said, "I'm gonna find you," it felt like I could feel the breath off of. He was right beside me, and I was like, "Well, this is it. He's gonna find. He's about to come past this tree, and he's gonna see you sitting there, and that's it." So then I just closed my eyes because I didn't want to see him grab me. I figured that if he got me, that would be one of my last images that I seen, and I didn't want it to be him grabbing me. So I closed my eyes, and I remember having my eyes closed, and I could hear my heartbeat inside my ear because I had been holding my breath this whole time trying.
Wow.
And then I remember hearing birds chirping, and then I looked, and then I was woke up. I was by the tree still, and everything was silent, and I was like, well, okay, all right. And I sat there and I was like, what just happened? Like, what just happened? And I kind of stood up and I felt my wrists and my hands, they felt sore, but I didn't sit and I was like, in doubt, maybe I was like, I don't know. I just sat there for a long time and I was scared because I was like, what just, I don't even, and I just didn't move. Just stayed there for a while, like probably an hour, just sitting there, not moving. And then I realized that I could see the sun was going down, and I didn't know how to get back home. I'm still in the woods, and I was like, okay, you just have to figure it out. I just have to, whatever it is, this just have to be, because we got to get out of the woods. So I picked, there's a stick right here beside me, and I eased it up there, and I threw it, and tried to see if maybe he was lying in wait for me, maybe jump out, but nothing. There's nothing, just birds chirping. So I got up, and I walked in the general direction until it got dusk. And when it got dusk, my mom has a big old booger light, or that's what we call them, sorry, booger, like a security light outside. And it lit up. And when it did, I could kind of see where to go. And I walked home, and I got there to my mom and dad's carport, and I was like, do I tell them that did that just happen? Do I tell them that listen, I didn't mind you and something? And I opened the door, my mama's kitchen door, and she was cooking cabbage, and I love cabbage, but I hate it to this day. I love it, but I can't stand the smell of it. But I walked in, and she was cooking cabbage, and she was like, "What are you doing, babe?" And she's like, "Goodness, you look, Lord." And then at that moment, my dad come walk around the corner. He seen me, and I'm talking about my hair's all messed up. I got ran through the briars, and he fussed at, my dad fussed at, he's like, "Heather, you're going to have to quit going and just hanging out, just swinging off trees and getting all tore up, your legs all tore up. You can't even come to church looking like you have your legs all, he's fussing at me." And I remember it broke my heart. I don't know why. It's not his fault, but I don't know. I just sat there and I went to my room and I went to bed. And then the next morning I sat straight up and I was like, I still couldn't. I was like, "Did you dream all of it?" I don't know if it's just a dream. So I went and I hurried up and got dressed, and I come outside and I waited in my driveway for the bus to come down and pick me up. And I was like, "Well, I'll get on the bus and I'll if this really happened, they're going to be talking about it on the bus, and then I got on the bus, and as soon as I got on the bus, I looked towards Eric and Jason, and they were just both with their heads down, wouldn't say anything. And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I just sat down on my seat and kind of looked back towards them, kept kind of staring back there. And then a couple stops later, my friend Luke Bedwell, he was my best friend, and he got on the bus, and the little boy that was in the back seat had the bag over his head, looked just like Luke. I actually thought it was Luke when I seen the little boy. Mm-hmm. So then when Luke comes walking on the bus, I'm like, whew, thank goodness. That must have been I must have just sat down and to take a break or something and fell asleep and had this bad dream or something, I guess. And I just shook it off. And they never said anything about it. I mean, they didn't never mention anything about nothing crazy happening. I was like, well, this is just a bad dream. That's all it was. But then I started having the same bad dream, like over. I actually started sleeping with my mom again because I got scared. I would have this same dream over with these babies and this man chasing me, and it felt so real that, like, I remember when we got our first computer, like my dad brought it home, and after everybody went to sleep, I got on there and I looked for missing kids, any babies that could look like Luke that went missing, and I couldn't find anybody. And so I looked 2 or 3 times. Like, I remember when we first got our computer, and then a couple years later I looked, and I never did see anybody. So eventually I just put it behind me and tried to brush it off. Like, I don't know what's wrong with you, but let's get it together, girl. So I just moved on and just tried to put it behind me. Well, then I lived life, and I had kids, and around 2018, life happened, and me and my fiance split up, and I moved back home with my mom and dad, and I was there with my kids. And Eric Harvey he had been married. He got divorced with his wife. He was living back around at his parents' old house, and we just started hanging out, talking, and then we ended up moving in together and got our own place.
Well, cool. Well, let me just ask you some questions about.
Let you take a break in a sec, because we didn't want to interrupt while you were telling your story, but let's go back to, and we'll ask you a few questions here and there. And go ahead, Don.
Let's go back to the day that the car pulls up beside of you and the man grabs you.
Wait a minute. First of all, I want to say, basically, you were playing in the woods behind your house, and if you keep going directly across through those woods, they come out onto the other road. Just so, because we've seen pictures, and then if you ain't seen the picture, it's kind of hard to mentally focus. So basically, and then when you walked, you came out of the other side of the woods, and that's where the road is. So
yes.
Just so everybody's following wrong right now, go ahead and ask your questions. I'm sorry.
So when you got through the woods and you was out there and that car pulls up, the man grabs you and pulls you into the car, throws you over the seat into the back.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you're back there, and you said you noticed a little girl, and there was a boy that was sort of half in and half out of the trunk.
So what, like the seats folded down? Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And I can't remember if it was, but it was like, yes, sir. It would be as if the seats were folded down. I remember him laying on something. I don't know if it was the back of the seats, or I'm not sure it was. His rest of him was in the trunk.
Can you describe this car?
Yeah, it's a 2-door, and it was. I remember it being white. I remember white, but it had a rag top, like a hard top thing that was white. And I remember seeing primer on it. It looked like primer around the wheel wells all around it, but I don't remember if it was just on the wheel wells. But I remember it looking like it was getting primed at something. But it was white and had primer, and it has red interior all inside of it, and it's like the velour kind, and it was a late model. It was late. It was like maybe the 80s or something. I'm not really good with the fine. But it was a coupe. It
ain't like you were sitting there staring at the car just to so you know what it looks like when you get all this done. It's just, and it's pretty good you can remember that much without.
So it was a coupe, a 2-door car, right?
2-door, yes, because I remember when I got into the back, when they pulled me into the back, I was looking, for a door, and there's no door, but there's no doors back there. And when the man wrapped the 2 chains, the little girl that was beside me, squatting there, she kind of stood up and back towards the window, which would have been behind the driver's side. She kind of backed towards it, and I remember there was no door, there was just a window there, and kind of cushion and velour all around, and it stopped where the trunk would be. And then the little boy was laying out.
Right. So just so everybody's clear, when you said you saw him in the back and partially in the trunk, that don't mean you went around and looked in the trunk. There was access to the trunk through the back seat.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Right.
Sir.
Okay. I mean, I thought so, but I was just making sure everybody's clear. Now, where did he wrap the chain? Around your waist, around your arms, where? Because that's a pretty big chain, looks like.
Where did he what?
Where did he put the chains?
He did like, he had one in each hand, and he just swung them, like made both of them wrap around me, it just, like he would just wrap, they both wrapped, and he wrapped each of them like 2 times, and kind of just surrounded me. And I remember that I just thought to stick my hands up. If I stuck my hands up, maybe he would just get my hands and they would leave my feet open. I could run. And, cause I grew up with my brother and I have an older brother, and all I could ever do was fight with my feet with him. So I just try to keep my feet over.
So he wrapped them around your waist? Is that what you're saying?
No, when I went into the back and he brought me back there, I'm sitting back behind him and I'm already kind of squatted down, and then he just around my whole body.
Oh, okay.
Kind of
okay.
Stuck my arms up so they would just get more of my arms than it would my actual body.
Okay.
They were anchored, like the two hooked hit. One was anchored, it was on one side and then the other. Like when in a coupe, how when the seats lift up and it has like two little prongs where it comes out. Then when it comes back down, the latches and the little prong go in there.
Correct.
He had them come. They were coming down in the little hook, and each little hook. It's like he had opened up the coupe and then put the thing down there and then closed it back on it. So the seat was actually latched. Is what had them latched.
Wow.
Secured.
Yeah. So
and
just so everybody knows, these chains they're like a long length of chains, but they got a hook on each end. So that hook can actually slide back over another link to kind of lock it into place.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And it's the big,
big long chain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All
and
right.
then it had it in like a ball. They come, but the ends come up and met, and he had like rolled it into a ball and had it in one hand.
This little girl that was sitting there in the back seat, you said she was a little black girl. Can you describe her, what she looked like?
She had a white shirt. It looked like either a dress or a shirt. It honestly looked like it was something that was too big for her a little bit. But it was a long sleeve, and it had purple something. I don't know if it had flower. It was just purple. I remember seeing purple writing or something on it. Something was on it. And I don't remember what kind of pants she had. Because she was kind of squatted. And I remember her hair was up in little bitty pigtails, but it was maybe like 5 or 6 pigtails coming off. And they had little bitty barrettes in the end of them that had, they closed and it had a little bar and then a bear on one side. It wasn't in the middle of it. It was on one side of it, and it closed. And she was missing she had 6 little pigtails. Maybe she had 3 still in there. She had already lost 3 little, and they were little. I can't remember. They're either yellow or white. I can't remember. I just remember being light colored, and it had a little teddy bear, a little barrettes, and they were all the same, hanging off of her hair, and she was missing 3 of them.
Mm-hmm. And so she was in the floorboard behind the driver, right?
She was behind the driver, yes, sir.
Okay.
When you were able to force your way out of the car, the seat moved up when you forced your back into it, and you fell out on the highway.
Because he left the door open when he took it. Okay.
Now, you turned and ran behind the car.
Yes, sir.
Where was Eric and you said Jason? Where were they at this time?
When I fell out of...
Yes.
I didn't see. I could only see one little boy there, and he was running ahead of the man. He was running like his ankle looked like he had the same kind of legs that I had, But he was running ahead of the man, and the man was right behind him.
So where, when all this part happened, how close were you guys to where the grandmother and those houses were?
The bend, there's like a little bend, maybe, I don't know, maybe 100 for 100, it's hard for me to judge distance.
I mean, were you up there, were there anybody else around? I mean, it's just weird this guy would jump out and chase a kid down the road to first house.
Yes,
or was this past the houses?
They were he had just passed the house there that had all them people standing out there. They were all because see, the house that the people were at was to the left of me. Like when I come out there, it would be to the left. So I was kind of standing there looking towards that way. But then I heard Eric and Jason come from the right because they have an uncle that lives 2 houses on down. So they were coming from their uncle's, walking up, walking by up to where their grandmother's was. So he just passed all them people outside. And I don't know if he passed them and thought he just seen me as an easy target and snatched me and then didn't know if I was with the boy. But the boys, he didn't know that. They didn't even know I was standing there.
Right. So, but when he was chasing the boys, was this in the same place or was they on past?
Yes, no, he chased me. He got out and left the woman. The woman was sitting there in the car. She even honked the horn. Like when she said, Terrell, she honked the horn. And then he runs chasing me in the woods, and she's still just sitting in the car up there with a baby. The baby's in the back. Like, but yes, sir, he left her sitting there on the, and he chased me into the woods. But you know, and it sounds like, but it happened. It wasn't. It sounds like a long time ago, but it wasn't. Everything happened like really, just. But
sure,
yes,
yeah.
they're sitting up there.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get a mental picture of what's going on here because this just blows my mind.
Yes, sir. And he even screamed, you know, like a few minutes. It was hollered in the woods. I'm gonna find you, like with all them people up there. And then I don't know. That's why I started worrying when she said my name, like, you know, like, and then when I'm hiding in the woods and he's screaming that, I'm like, did my parents like just? It's like, who all knows? I mean, I don't know. I didn't feel like I had nobody because they didn't care who was watching. They didn't care.
So time passed, and you didn't tell anybody about this.
No, sir.
You just kept all this to yourself.
Yes, sir. I didn't. I just didn't. I didn't say anything. I didn't want to tell somebody about just that I was just having some dream that was haunting me that so bad. Like I just kept it all inside.
Yeah, it sounds like you just run in the woods and then tried to hold your breath long enough and probably made yourself pass out. Either that or from such a adrenaline rush and then a crash or something, and then you woke up and then you're trying to figure out was it real or not, right?
Yes, sir.
So
but,
I guess the chains fell off somewhere in the woods before you hid behind a tree.
Yes, sir. As soon as I made it over, I ran a few more steps and they snagged and made me called all again. But I just kept it to myself, but I didn't say anything to nobody. And years passed, and I tried to put it behind me. But then, and me and Eric, you know, I still didn't bring it up. Like, I don't know why I didn't say anything to him. Like, I should have just got on the bus and I should have just said, hey, did you? Somebody almost like. But I was still embarrassed. I was worried about looking funny.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then you're thinking the same thing. You're thinking, well, if it happened, why ain't he asking me what the hell happened?
Yeah, yes, sir. So I didn't. I just dropped it.
Good.
This Eric Harvey, you and him are together now. The little boy lived up the road. Y'all are together now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir, we are. And we have a little girl together, and then we raised 4 babies together. But we have
awesome.
one. Both of ours together.
When you got back together, because you said you always liked him, and then all this other stuff happened, and it kind of worked out to where you got together. And then when you got together, how long was it before this came up?
Yeah.
We've been together about we got together in 2018 when we started seeing each other, and maybe a year, maybe around. Well, I'm not. It was around 2018 is when we moved into this house, and we had been, whenever I was living at my mom's, he was living at his mom's. We kind of talked for a few months, like about 6 months, but we moved into the house and our little house in Foxworth. That was in 2018, right after the term 2018, and then it all kind of come out not too long after we moved into this house that we got together.
Okay, and what you said that basically you heard him talking to the kids to kind of give him a warning of what could happen and was telling this story?
And how to be safe. Yeah.
Yes, sir. We had been like watching TV together. We was all watching TV, and we'd seen something about a little kid. Somebody had tried to, like, this woman, and there was a baby had been kidnapped. Somebody maybe had been kidnapped or something like that. And we'd been talking about, we had already been talking about it, and kind of like, y'all need to be careful and stuff like that. And then I was kind of making my grocery list, stuff I needed to do, and then I told him, I said, I'm going to run right on in to the, our $1 General. I'm going to run right up there, and I'm going to get a couple things, and I won't be long. And he said, okay. So he was sitting there, I left him talking, and I drove back up about maybe an hour and a half later, something like that. I drove back up, and I got my groceries, and I was trying to get it all in one swoop, but I remember I got to the door and I had to set some of it down, and I was unlocking the door, and as soon as I opened it, I heard him say, "And man and a woman, they tried to get me." He said, and there was a dead baby in the back seat. And then when he said that, I dropped. I remember I dropped the mirror, I dropped everything, and I screamed that. I was like, "Hey!" And I come running, and I said, "You shut up! Don't you tell them that! Don't you tell them that!" I was like, "That you shut up! How do you know about my dream? Who told you about the dream?" And then, but I knew I ain't told nobody. I haven't told anybody. But then Eric, he's usually kind of calm. He just hollers, and he's like, "Hey, don't tell me what happened to me. You don't tell me what happened to me didn't happen to me."
Wow.
And I didn't even what I said. And I was like, I didn't say that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I know what you're talking about. Like there's a little boy and a little girl. He's like, yeah, yeah. He's like, listen, I'm telling you, a man and a woman tried to kidnap me one time. He's like, they jumped out of the car, ran at me. He said, there was a dead boy in the back seat, a white kid and a black kid in there that was still alive. And I took off. He's like, I just seen a little piece and I took off. He's like, and he chased me. He's like, and I went to praying and, just as I went to praying, I kind of told him kind of not be there no more. Like, and I don't know what it is. He's like, but I'm telling you that this happened to me. And I was like, no, I believe you. I was like, cause I know exactly what you're talking about. And he's like, yeah, there's a little boy, like the boy in the back seat was dead, been dead a while. I was like, yeah, I know. I was like, did he look familiar to you? And he said, no, I mean, I didn't know him. He looked just like Luke. And when he did, like, my heart fell in my chest and just fell on the floor. And I was like, man, that's crazy. And he said, he's like, you ain't heard crazy. So he's like, you know what's crazy? He's like, try sitting at your house one day and just strolling through the internet and then bam, there's dude's face. Like, I found the guy that tried to do it. And I was like, wait a minute. Don't show me. Do not show me. I was like, you go in there and you print it off with a bunch of others and you let me see and let me pick it out because I don't. And he said, okay. So he went in there and printed off like six of them.
He printed out a lineup for you, didn't he?
Yes, sir. He did. He printed up like 6 or 8 photos of different people. And as soon as he laid them down, it was like the third man from the top. That's him. I was like, that's him. That's him. I was like, that's him. He's like, yep, that's him. He's like, Terrell Eugene Bass. And then as soon as he said the name, I was like, Terrell. That's why she was saying Terrell she wasn't hollering my name. It just so happened that his name is Terrell too. And I was like, man.
So his first name is the same as your last name. So that's why you were getting freaked out. But yet she wasn't hollering for you. She was hollering for him. And you just thought, yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir. So as soon as I was like, man, that's what I heard her holler. And I was like, I know, man, this is crazy. And he's like, look, I'm serious. And I was like, well, if that really happened, if this was so wild that they chased us in the middle of broad daylight, I was like, there's got to be other kids. They've got to be did this to somebody else because there's no way that they got that brave. So I was like, we got to find out where they are, where they came from, something. So we just started looking at the internet and trying to actually I was sitting there looking at the man, like I've been staring after we've been talking, I was staring and I was like, you know what? I feel like I've seen him before somewhere, I don't know why it never registered because I seen his face all throughout in the dream, but for some reason, just when I seen his actual face, I know, hey, then he looked familiar. He looked like I had seen him before. And I told him, I said, I think I've seen him. He said, that's crazy that you said, I think I may have seen him too. He's like, I feel like I may have seen him at Bill Broom's house before. And Bill Broom lives at the very end of my parents' driveway. And he's a family friend. He's kin to my dad on my dad's side. He's my dad's cousin. And he has kids that was my age. We always hang out down there too. But he said, I feel like he was down there at Bill Broom's. And I said, that's crazy that you say that because when he looks familiar to me, but he looks like I seen him at Chris Broom's in North Carolina. Cause we went up there to see Chris Broom, which is our, family, to my dad's side. They had a wedding up there in 1999 and we went up there and stayed for like a week in North Carolina. And I told him, I said, he looks like I seen him in that game room up there in North Carolina. Cause like Chris Broom had a big old game room over his garage. And, so we tried to see if we could find a connection between Chris Broom and Terrell, but we found one connection to a Faye Broom, but we didn't know if it was who was.
Do you know where in North Carolina this was by chance? Or no?
Sir?
Do you happen to know where it was in North Carolina you were?
I could ask my mom exactly where the house. I could have the actual address for you, but
you don't remember what town it was or anything, do you?
I don't know right off. No, sir,
okay.
I don't.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I was just wondering. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You were young.
Yeah.
But yeah, I told him I thought we tried to find a connection between, and we didn't know if it was
I'm sorry to interrupt you again, but are these Broom fellas related? This Dale Broom and this Chris Broom, or we don't know?
They're related to me, like to my dad.
Are they related to each other?
They're my dad's cousins.
Okay.
All right.
And they're good men. They're good men. But they had Chris Broom had a construction company. Him and his brother Sam Broom for a while in North Carolina. And he had some workers. They worked with him, and some of them would stay up there in his game room, and other ones would stay like there's an apartment somewhere nearby, like with some people staying in the apartments, his workers and stuff.
Is there any way to ask your dad's cousins, the Brooms, if they know Terrell Bass?
I reached out and talked to his daughters, because Bill Broom died of lung cancer, and then Chris Broom died not too long ago. But I talked to his daughters and asked them, hey, do you know these people? They said that they couldn't be sure that it was so, they didn't, he didn't look familiar, but they didn't know that they didn't know him. They wasn't sure. So we just still couldn't find a connection anywhere. So then we looked up Terrell. Was like, well, where's his kids? Because I knew Terrell has children. It showed on we did like a people search engine thing. And so we looked his son up, and it showed that his son had some addresses in North Carolina and like some speeding or like traffic tickets in North Carolina. So I figured if his son's living in North Carolina, he's had to come to visit him in North Carolina, and maybe I'm just going to check North Carolina, see if there's any missing kids in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So we just put it in there, and when we looked up missing kids, North Carolina, it showed Asha, it said her name, and then I clicked on it. And I was kind of sitting there like Eric was doing something. He wasn't even, because I kind of hyper-focused on it. After I realized that it wasn't a dream, Eric's been knowing it wasn't a dream this whole time. And so he's just like, going on about like, it kind of just threw my whole head. Everything. So I just kind of dug and kept digging, and I was sitting there and I clicked on her picture, and it looks like her. And I made it like 3 pictures over, and then her eyebrows pitch up, and it's just exactly like that little girl's eyebrows pitched. So I told Eric, I said, check this out. And I held it up, and then when he turned around and seen, he said, holy crap, that's her. That's her. That's the little girl. I said, yeah, I think so too. And so then we said, look, let's find the boy. I know there's a boy somewhere that looks like Luke that's missing somewhere. So like I did a few times before, I just did like a big search, like at the missing children Center for Missing Children, explored the missing children website. I looked on there, see if I could see anybody. Maybe look like Luke this time, and when I clicked on it and scrolled up, and I think I got Asha Grizz, that looks like a little girl, and then bam, right under Asha is David Crabtree, and he looks just like Luke. And then I was like, Eric, check this out, look at him. And I showed it, and he said, that's him. So then we reached out and found out that David Crabtree went missing on the 8th, the night of 8th. And they reported him missing on the 9th. Yes. But he looked just like Luke. But he wasn't put into the system right away as a runaway. He was put in there as a runaway and not a missing person. So all this time I'd been looking, he only recently got put into the system as a missing child in 2018. So all the way up until 2018, all them times I'd searched, he wasn't on there.
So David Crabtree was from Oklahoma, wasn't he?
Yes, sir, he was.
Okay.
Yeah, and he went missing in April, so that would have been
April.
About 2 months after Asha.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Right, okay. But it's the same year.
It was 2 months after. And I know it sounds like really crazy. I know it sounds so wild, but, and I don't want to break down on the, in front on the show or whatever it is, but it's recording, but I know that it sounds really perfect, but I'm if anybody knows how crazy it sounds, it's me. I know but I'm not delusional. I wake up every day and I raise my babies, and one of them has cerebral palsy, and I give them medicine, and I'm not raising them perfectly, but I'm actively raising them, and I'm not psychotic. I'm not some crazy person looking for just some clout or somebody to look at me. I don't care if nobody ever knows my name. I just need somebody to help me. I got some guilt about that baby, and I don't know. I really left her, and I'm really struggling with it.
So let me go back to the day that you were abducted. You walked through the woods. You heard the commotion going on. What was that commotion you heard? Tell me what that.
It's Eric. Whenever it come out that, and I was like, hey, wait a minute, I know what you're talking about. He was like, listen, he said, these people tried to abduct me. He's like, my grandmother had a stroke, and the family had all come in. He's like, and I had walked down to my uncle's house, and I was coming back up, and my grandmother had a stroke, and then this man jumped out of the car and tried to run me down. And he's like, and then I prayed, and I made it past him, and I ran up. He's like, and I thought I thought I was going to come around the corner. My brother was going to be standing there, like, telling my mama, look what he did. And no, my brother was like around there eating a popsicle. He done just ran up while my mom was bringing popsicles out, and then he's just sitting there eating his popsicle. Like, nothing ever happened. Like, so I ran up to my mom, was like, Mama, this man just tried to snatch me. And she's like, what? And she's listening to him. And then he was like, this man just tried to snatch me, and there's a dead kid in the back of his car. It's not fake. There's a real dead kid. And she told him to hush. She's like, hush now. Hush all that up, because your grandmother's in here and had a stroke, and you in here out here with this. And he's like, Mom, I'm telling you the truth. I promise. Like, and she told him, hush, hush. So he kind of put his head down and went inside to where his grandmother's at. And he said he was standing there, and they kind of walked out the room. It was just him and her. And he's like, Grandmother, somebody just tried to snatch me, and there's a dead baby, and then nobody's listening to me. And he said that when he told her that, she like squeezed his hand, and she just like started moving. I don't know, moving around, and he just, like, her oxygen stuff started going down, and they shooed him out of the room, told him to get out, and then they told the family, let's just keep the kids outside. Maybe the kids are upsetting her. He said he heard them telling them that the kids are upsetting her. And he felt bad, like, hey, I'm making it worse. I shouldn't be telling her that right now. And then, so they kind of went on back, walking outside, playing, and going back towards their house. And that she died that night after he left, and he felt bad. And he said, I'll never bring it up anymore. I won't tell him. I'll just be quiet about it. But he said, but I was sitting there watching the news, watching this little boy almost, this kid almost get took, and I needed to tell them that there is real monsters out there. And he's like, and if somebody ever tells you something, don't discredit them. But I guess he didn't tell her. I mean, I guess that's what kept him from saying anything about it. Like,
so his grandmother dying was the way you was able to keep up with the date of this happening to you, right?
Yes, sir. Yes. I didn't know when it had happened at all. I knew it was sometime after April, because I knew David. I felt it was David, but her dying is when I knew it was April 9th, because she died on the 9th, and she was buried on the 10th, or no, the 11th, I think. I'm not sure. He's out there with all the kids, but I know that she died on the 9th.
Yeah. Let's get into your research a little bit. You got to looking for missing kids in North Carolina, and you saw Asha Degree's picture.
Yes, sir. And I seen it, and I showed it to Eric. And I told him, I said, check this out. And he's like, that's her. That's her. And I felt like it was her. And so I started, I was looking it up, and then that's when I tried to find David too, and I found both of them who I thought it was. And I wanted to know who the woman was, so I looked up Terrell more and put in his name into the search engine, listening, like, trying to just come up with anything. And I realized, I found out that he had come in and murdered some people, murdered his sister-in-law, and I don't really know exactly if it was her or somebody that I don't know if she was seeing somebody, I don't know.
He murdered his wife, his strange wife.
Has two different conflicting things.
Yeah, he murdered his estranged wife and her boyfriend, and then his brother, or he shot his brother, or was it her brother?
Yes, and Herschel Stogner. And Herschel Stogner actually lived like 2 miles from Shady Grove Church Road. Herschel Stogner does.
And that's the one who survived?
That's the one that survived, yes, sir. And then a Ramona Bass, that's Terrell's wife. She survived. She was in the news, but then they took her name out, so I don't know exactly. But I did speak with her. I reached out to Ramona Bass and asked her about Tanya Robin Stringer, because a name come up that maybe a possible associate of him was a Tanya Robin Stringer. And when I seen that name, it looked familiar. Like I'd seen it before, Tanya Robin Stringer. So then I was going to look her up on Facebook, see if I could find, just get a mental picture of who that might have been. So I typed it in. When I typed her name in, it said respond, and it had a message request from a Tanya Robin Stringer. And I was like, okay. So I clicked on it, and when I clicked on it, that's the woman that I feel like that's the woman that was driving. She has a white streak in her hair. You can't really see it. It's got highlights in it. And she kind of keeps it pulled back, but I feel like it's Tanya Robin Stringer. But I don't have any. I just have some addresses that she was from, like in North Carolina. I know she had some addresses in North Carolina that we was able to find, and then she has some in Oklahoma that we were able to find, and I have all my I have a bunch of stuff saved on my. I was gonna send it to y'all, but I figured I didn't want to just because I can overload somebody and something like it kind of just comes all spewing out when I try to go to talk about it, and I don't want it to be too much to process, but I did I got some, there's some addresses that was, one of them was like about 15 miles from near where Jessie Flores went missing. And then that she had an address at, and then there's another one, it was Bianca, I don't know, it was another girl that was from Louisiana that was, and I don't know if she's tied to all of them, I don't know, but I'm just saying, I just started seeing this woman's name a lot.
And she had like a gray streak in her hair, the woman driving the car.
She did. She has a white streak in her hair.
A white streak, okay.
Mm-hmm.
At the time.
Because her hair was black. It was black, but it had one white streak. Looks like it wouldn't dye right or something. Like it's a birthmark kind of looking.
Right.
And, and I know that Terrell, he's serving a life sentence now because of his attack that he did on these other people.
Yeah.
But and I want to get justice for the woman. I want somebody to have to answer this woman. I want to know who the woman was driving because she smiled at me. Like, whenever I got in the car and they put the chains on me and I realized this was happening, I looked at her and I said, please. And I remember like a tear running down my face and it was hot and she smiled she thought it was funny. And, I don't know, that stuck with me. That's one part of the dream that I've seen over and over is her smiling at me. And I don't know, call her a vendetta or whatever, but I really want to know who she is. I want her to have to answer to what she's doing.
Heather, who all have you told your story to? What authorities have you talked to?
As far as authorities wise, I've talked to OSPI, the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, and I talked to Mr. Dale from there. I talked to him in June of 2022, and then like September I talked to him, and then I talked to Cleveland County. I spoke to them. I know it was sometime right before, it was sometime in August, because I know that I sent him a message on September the 2nd that said, hey, I'm just trying to follow up with you. I wanted to talk to you about, because when I first reached out to these places, I only told them about, Eric's on probation, and he was worried for some, I don't know why, he was worried that, he was like, if I get in any kind of trouble, I can have no kind of trouble. And I'm not, you want to go and say about all this and speak out? He's like, I'm not, you go for it. I'm not going to do it. He's like, 'cause people are going to think we're crazy and I don't need that kind of, and so when I first reached out to Cleveland County, I just told them my side story a little bit. I didn't even say anything about Eric. I just said, hey, look, I had this dream. And then I realized it's not a dream. I need somebody, and I told that to OSB and Cleveland County. And then I got off there and I was like, dude, I sound crazy. You're going to have to come talk to me. You're going to have to come tell them with me, so he's like, before we do that, I need to go do one thing. And I was like, okay. So we went to his mom's, and then we got out at his mom's house, and he come in there and he told us, and he talked to your mom. He's like, I need to know if you remember when grandma was sick, me coming up and telling you somebody tried to snatch me. And she's like, yeah, I do. I remember it. And he's like, and he didn't even remember, at this time about them passing it back. She said, I remember. And he's like, no, seriously, do you remember me? She said, yeah, I remember you saying that. And the car passed back by, and he's like, that's them. He's like, and I remember it. And he's like, and then he cried. He started crying. He said, I wasn't lying, Mama. That's somebody was. And, so when he said that, when she said she remembered, we'd been there talking maybe 30 minutes. Then the phone rang, and it was Jason, Eric's brother, was calling his mom. And so then, when he got on the phone, Eric kind of took the phone from his mom and was like, hey, I went ahead and asked Mama, I'm just going to ask you, dude, do you remember, I'm talking about that man? And then Jason said, yeah, I know you're talking about, man, and he had some kids in the back. He never did see the boy that was dead. He just seen some kids back there, and he got spooked and ran off. But he said, yeah, I remember getting spooked and running. And whenever he heard that they remembered, both of them, he told me, he's like, look, she's been reaching out about this, and I'm fixing to reach out with her, and I don't know what it'll cause with my probation, but just so be it, because I need it. Will y'all go and tell with us that will you tell your side of it? Look, or if not, it's fine. We're going to go tell. We just want to let you know. And they both agreed that they would come, they would talk to the investigator, whatever they needed to do. So then I tried to call Cleveland County back and look, I need you to talk, Eric's here. Eric's like wanting to speak with you. There's a whole lot more to the story. And, so I didn't get him at first. I just sent him the email, and then I got a voicemail on my phone from Detective Adams, and this is Detective Adams, Cleveland County Sheriff's. Trying to get a hold of Heather Terrell. I believe she's got some info that could really help us out. I need to talk with her. And so I got all excited, and I let my mama listen to it, because I struggled to even tell this to my mom, and my mom's my whole everything. But I let her listen to it. I was like, listen, because I'm still trying to validate myself. I feel like people don't believe, I don't know. I didn't know. I want her to believe me that, look, this happened to me. And so I let her hear it. And, so I got her to watch my kids. I'm going to go try to call him back. So I tried to call him, and, I didn't get anybody. It just kept ringing. So I left a voicemail, and then I tried to call him again the next day, and somebody answered, and they said that he was out of the office. He was not in the office. But that he would to call him back Friday, because he was going to be in the office, and he had told the person taking the phone calls to be watching for my call that he wants to speak to you still, but call him Friday. So then I called Friday, and Detective Carpenter answered and told me that he thought he needed to talk to me, but he'd done, he thinks he's got everything that he needs so far. That's fine. They'll get back a hold of me if they need me. And I was like, well, he said, I just called Friday, and they said that he's like, well, I don't know. I'm telling you, I just spoke with him, and he said that everything's okay. That he's already he'll call you back if he needs to talk to you. So I said, okay. And, but it kind of, I don't know. I text, I messaged, started emailing Detective Adams, and I was just like, I don't know if they're going to call me back or not, but if they're not going to, I'm just going to send them all the info I have then. Just Eric's story, my story, everything. And so I just started sending him, and I probably sent him like 10 emails. Mm-hmm. And then finally, Detective Carpenter called me back and said, look, you quit messaging us. Like, cause you're not helping anybody, with the pictures that you're sending, cause I went, right after we talked to Eric's mom and his brother, I come the next day, and I went to the woods, I just had to go back there, and just walk around and see everything. So I went, and I was walking around a few minutes, and then I looked, and there was a patch of sand, and it's this patch of sand that from this patch of sand I landed into. And I was like, this is the sand I landed into. So, and then my stomach, I started feeling like I was going to get sick, and I was like, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of the woods. And I went to make 2 or 3 steps up, and there is the tree with the chain still hanging on it. And I think I lose a lot of people when I say that, but the chains were still on the tree. 2 chains. And then I should have left them alone. I should have not took them off, but I needed to hold them. I just wanted to hold them, and I went and picked them up, and I just had the memory of me running. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I was trying to thought. Sorry. I'm sorry. I just really want to do a good job answering enough. No, but I really need to get somebody to hear me, and I'm telling the truth, and I'm being honest. And
well, we're with you. We're going to put this out. Let me ask you this. You talked to the David Crabtree family, didn't you?
Yes, sir, I did.
What did they tell you?
I spoke with them back in, it was in May, and, I kind of just reached out and was like, look, I might have some info with David Crabtree, and then I ended up sending them the picture of my friend Luke, and I was like, look, just check this out. This is my friend Luke. And, cause they asked me, they said, what makes you think it was David? And I said, his eyebrows. Cause his eyebrows were really thick, and then they kind of didn't answer nothing for a second, and then I sent the picture of Luke. I was like, look, this is Luke, and this is who I thought it was. I was like, other than the boy, that I seen, he had a scar. I was like, maybe on one of his eyebrows. I was like, but I know that he had one on his head, and And then they said that David had a scar on top of his head like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we started talking more, and then they told me that they was gonna try to talk to OSBI and have them contact me and stuff. And so I said okay, and they said they would just get back, like we would touch base back again soon, and we'll get back with you. So I said okay, and I had already I was already speaking with OSBI at the same time, so I know that and I showed Dale, Mr. Dale from OSBI, seen the pictures of the tree and the sand and the wire still coming up from the ground. I found that still down there still, like, it's a dense area and there's still nobody that lives nearby. Like, it's still exactly the way that it is from 20 years ago. Like, everything's still down there exactly like it is.
24 years ago.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But I was already talking to OSBI, and then they kind of reached back out and asked me, did anybody talk to me yet about my story? And I told them, I said, yeah, yes, ma'am, I spoke with somebody. And right after I'd spoke with them, I'd seen on the Facebook page of David Crabtree where it said they were going to be investigating for the next 30, for like 30 days. And then I seen it on Asha's page that they were doing that. So I kind of got hopeful there for a little while that, all right, maybe it's making some movement or something. And, but then everything kind of, I never did get any call back or anything. So then, that's when I was aggravating Detective Adams. And then when Carpenter told me that to quit calling, it kind of broke. Like I just started squalling on the phone. And I was like, I'm sorry. I don't want to bother anybody, man. I need some help. And he was like, well, I'm just trying to tell you can't be con-. And I was like, well, what can you tell me to do? I was like, cause you're a police officer and it's to help me and I need some help. So I was like, just help me. Tell me what to do. He's like, listen, man, if you want to help somebody, go report it. He's like, locally, we can't do anything for you here. He's like, you're going to have to go report it and then say something about them. And then it'll give us a reason to look in. We can't just look into everybody that calls up here. I was like, well, okay, that's fine. I will. That's what I'll do. So then that's when I reached out to my Columbia Police Department, and I messaged them and asked them, could I, I needed to kind of talk with them. And then at first they didn't email me back. And then I sent them the big long message that I sent you guys. And, then they text me back and was like, can you come in here? Would you be willing to come in and talk? And I was like, yes, I would, definitely. So I think I come in there January the 4th, 2022 and first reported it. I think it might have been 2023, January 2023. It's been a year ago. Yeah, 2023 is when I first reported it to Columbia Police Department. It was January the 4th of 2023. I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. What did they tell you?
They told me to come in and meet my detective that would be assigned to my case. And so they met me there, and I kind of waited at the door, and they took me to the back, and they told me, look, I'm going to have to get you to write every bit of that down. So he told me to take it home, and I took it home and wrote everything down my story, and then I bagged up the chains, and I drove back up there, and I turned it into him, and he said, look, it's going to be, I want you to know, like, this case is 20-something years old. He's like, and we're already backed up. He's like, and you see, we're like tiny little, it's going to be a while before I get to it, He's like, but I'll get with you, and I'll get back with you and let you know. I was like, okay, well, I mean, am I going to hear anything? He's like, well, I'll just get back with you. I was like, okay, well, do you want the chains? Cause they're in a bag out in my car. And he's like, no, that's not necessary. If I need anything, I'll just call you. And I was like, okay, well, that's fine. So I went home, and then I waited for like 3 months, and then I called him. I'm sorry, I didn't call him. I emailed him, and he still, to this day, I've still never received a response from him ever. But
wow.
He may be really busy. I'm not saying it, but so then I just started looking up. I don't know. I got kind of angry, and I wrote some bad messages. Like, not bad messages, but on the missing children, send for missing children, exploited children. I was like, look, the whole justice system is flawed. Like, it's just, I don't even believe it anymore. I was kind of ranting, and then I wrote it on that, and then the ISC, that's the Interstate Association for Stolen Children. I wrote it on their website, and then the next morning when I woke up, Mr. Paul Green from the IASC had read my just rant-filled little thing I wrote him, and he called me down and was like, hey, what are you talking about? What's going on? And I was like, okay, look. And I sent him the whole big email, and he's like, look, we need to talk. So he started talking back and forth with me, and then he asked to speak to Eric. Eric would come and talk to him. He said yes, and so then we actually scheduled interviews. We did like the go to meeting, you know, where it's the virtual. We sat there with our laptops. I did my interview, and Eric did a recorded interview, and they would be in contact with us again, and they'd get back with us and get us some set up with some victims like services and some resources we could use, maybe, because I told them I was struggling, you know, a little bit with all of it, and so we did, and they called us back and said that they were going to present it to they were going to meet in Washington. I don't know what's in Washington, but they said they were going to go meet there and talk it over, and they would let me know what was going to go from there. And then they ended up calling back, and they said that the people in Washington, that there was a group of people that was interested in taking the case, kind of wanted to look into more of it, look into it some more in Washington and in New Orleans, but that they would be calling me back in the next week. One of the two agencies would call me back within a week and get back with me, like within a couple of weeks. So I waited, and then about 3 to 4 months later, I never heard anything. So I sent them an email. I was like, hey, I haven't heard anything from anybody. I don't know if somebody's trying to reach me or not, but I haven't. And then I haven't talked to them again though since that. I mean, it's been 6 months now, 7 months, I think, and I still haven't heard anything from the ISC, or they haven't reached back out to me at all. And so then I just started trying to, I went on Reddit and tried to, and I don't know anything about Reddit, like, and I got myself in a bind on there on Reddit because there were so many people asking me stuff, and I guess I shouldn't have went that way. Like, and I'm not a good, I'm not really technological. I used to be, and now I've got older, and I've got with kids, and I mean, I can make killer chicken nuggets, but I'm not good at the, but, so I got on Reddit.
So you got on Reddit and got a little overwhelming, probably.
Yes, sir, I did, and everybody's kind of just like at me, asking me like, no, that can't be, and which is fine because I understand that that's gonna happen, and I don't know that I'm ready for it, but I welcome it because that's okay. Because as long as they're picking and playing, at least they're listening to what I'm saying, but somebody wrote on their own Reddit and was like, they was kind of not believing me, and they was like, and I was like, thank you for saying that, because everything you're saying, I need to learn how to accept it, you know, and I do need to listen to what you're saying. She's like, if you're really saying if you're really about what you say, or you need to lose the anonymity, you need to go somewhere and broadcast it everywhere. And then I told her, I was like, yeah, you're right. I need to, but I mean, I'm so scared. I told her, I got kids, you know, and these babies have to, I said, I try to tell, I'm struggling to even tell my mom and my dad, scared that they won't believe me. What about all these strangers, and my babies have to walk in front of them every day? Are they gonna, and she's like, well, you know, and I told her, yeah, I mean, I understand that's what has to be done though, because it's not, my soul's not going to rest about what happened to me. And I was like, I just need to suck it up and show my babies that, you know what, it doesn't matter what anybody says, I'm going to stand for what, I'm going to stand up for myself. And so they suggested I come and get hold. They was like, you need to get hold of a podcast, somebody that broadcasts stuff, and so I started looking at podcasts, and that's where I come across y'all's, and I watched it, and I watched a few more, but I mean, I'm not trying to blow your heads. I'm just saying it felt like y'all really cared about Asha, and in the end, I feel bad for David, but David was already gone. I feel like Asha's, and I just had a connection to her, and whoever, this little girl that was in the back seat with me, my heart hurts for her, and
right.
I just want somebody that'll do a good job and really listen, and what better than somebody that's close to it and local.
Right, and just to be blunt, you really don't know for sure if that was her or not, but in your heart, you feel like it is.
In my heart, I feel like it was her, and so I don't have any like smoking gun or no.
Right.
So I don't have enough, and it's hard. That's what makes it so hard reaching out about it, because I don't have anything to prove, but I feel like it was her.
Well, you've done a ton of research and ton of, just digging and digging and digging, trying to find it and try to make this make sense to you. And it really should be commended of how far you went. I mean, when we first got into it, it's like, I don't know, the more we think about it, we're talking to you and figuring out, and I'm like, I mean, it's like, hell, if she's lying, she should be making movies, because, this is a hell of a story. And all you're doing is trying to make it make sense and trying to help somebody. And it seems like you're just getting a door slammed in your face every which way you go.
Yes, sir. When I did, one of the people, I'm not gonna name any, I'm not gonna say anybody.
Okay, that's fine.
But somebody laughed at me like when I tried to call, and it really hurt me. And I believe that I seen Asha, and I believe I seen David. And if that's not true, and if somebody can prove me wrong, then that's fine. I'll accept it, and I'll apologize publicly, and I'm sorry, but I don't believe anybody's going to be able to prove me wrong. If anything, I hope they prove anything. I just need something, some kind of movement or some kind of progress to be done with it.
Right. Find out who those two kids were.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
And find
it looks like, I mean, even if that was David, it had to be like the night he went missing, they would have had to got him then, and then to been in Oklahoma and then drove down there, and it's very possible.
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir.
Because it's the same day, right?
Yeah.
Same day or day before.
Yes, sir. And I believe it's just, this is just me speculating. I don't know, but but David was a wrestler and stuff, and I know that Asha's hands was raw, arms were raw, and I feel like maybe he seen that and then he panicked, and I think maybe he tried to take up for her. I don't know, but I feel like they.
Yeah, he was a big kid. He was only 13, but he was 5'5" and like 125 pounds.
Yes, sir. And he had an older brother, and he, kind of wrestled with him. I think the man had his hands full when he tried to grab him, and I think that's why he ended up.
Right.
I guess I'm not sure why they would just get somebody just to kill. I don't know what they were doing. I'm not sure what they were doing, or I don't know. But I know the woman smiled at me, and I don't know what. I've tried to look into, like, how did she try to find a connection to maybe how this person was with. I have done a lot of digging with it, and I do understand that it's so. Like, at first, I still struggle with my mom, and it's crazy because it's 20-something years later, and I know in my heart that it happened, but I still struggle so much to tell. Like, I still struggle. Like, me and my dad hasn't even talked about it. Like, he knows. He's watching. He's helped. I got two of my kids here, and he's got the other one. My mom and my dad do help him with her, and but it's hard to talk about. I mean, it's hard when you feel like you have to prove yourself, and I don't want to. I just want everybody to believe me, but I know that you're going to have to prove yourself, and that's what I'm trying to do now.
Right.
Is just withstand all of that, and I don't have all the answers. I don't know, but I can just tell you what I believe that I saw.
Well, that's all you can do. You can just keep going on what you believe and stick to it, and it doesn't matter what anybody else says or does. I mean,
sir.
You obviously experienced something bad, and you want answers.
Yes, sir. And this is my truth. I mean, I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know anything else. I've prayed with it. I mean, I've wrestled with this. I put both of all their names in the Bible and shut it because my mom used to tell me to do it. I've just wrestled with it because I didn't want to come out and just say anything. At first I didn't, like I started just put it on her Facebook page, and I was like, that's not my place. And I don't know for sure, like you said, if that's, and who am I to go and say something if that's not 100% her? I mean, I know that the degrees and the Crabtrees have been through hell. And I don't think they're while I was on Reddit, I really don't think her parents knew anything about anything. I think that they got tricked, and it's hard reading it. Like I don't know, it's just hard. Like on Reddit, they were kind of attacking me. It's like, that's bullcrap. David Crabtree, like, he didn't even go missing till, like, but he didn't. He went missing the night before. But it's just hard, and I know that the truth is in there because I know that God's revealed it to me, and I just hope that everybody can just hear past me. I know I'm kind of wild or kind of all over the place. It's been such a struggle reaching out about it this far that, like, anytime I feel like I get least little nibble, I'm like, trying to rip the lip right out. And I just run with it and kind of spewing out. And I don't feel like I did enough for her, and I don't think I'll ever feel like I do enough for her. Because I hate that I left her. And I hope that
What else could you do? I mean,
yes, sir. But I just want to hug. I want to hug the degrees so bad and tell them I'm sorry. But I mean, I'm like, that's crazy. I wouldn't. You can't have some random person come and hug you. But I feel so close to this. I feel close to Ace. I feel like.
So you really, 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 really feel that it was her? Whether
Yes, sir. I feel with everything in me. I even tried to reach back up to Detective Adams and say, look, I'm sure y'all get bombarded with people like, there's all kinds of people that go through all their different walks in life in it. And, I'm sure that y'all meet some characters and all, but I'm not trying to be that. I was like, and I'll do a lie detector test. And Eric said he would too. And I know that people say that's junk science but how many other people do you have saying, give me a lie detector test? I'll help pay for it. I don't have any money, but I'll come work in community service and work it off because I need you to listen to me. But I guess, there's no telling it that they might hear all kinds of crazy stuff than that. I don't know, but I am willing to take a polygraph test, and I am willing to pay for it.
Well, Heather, we'll definitely put your story out there on our platforms and get everybody to listen to it and get your word out there. Because I'm just blown away with the research and the information you have on this. It's just crazy, and everything you've been through.
Yes, sir.
It's like 3 stories in one.
Yes, sir. It's a lot. It's a lot of. It's a lot. I've struggled trying to keep some, because when it's so much and it's all intertwined and it all it's confusion. You get all these people's names. It's a lot of information, and then I start sounding like chaotic because I don't want to lose anybody, so I'm trying to hurry up and jam it all in there. But I've been doing it. I have been looking this has kind of consumed my whole life for 3 years or 4 years. I've been just add it. The first little year was just kind of me being shocked. But ever since I just been going at it, trying to reach this person and text this person and email, and it's kind of just took over. I'm ready to I'm hoping that talking with y'all can get it out there more, and I can just get a little bit of easiness on me to just sit back and enjoy my babies a little while. But I can't. Right. I can't do that when I don't know. It's hard. I know that I can help somebody if I could get somebody to just listen and realize that I do know how crazy I sound. I know it sounds wild, but just it happened. And
yeah. Well, Heather, we certainly appreciate you being on the show and talking to us and telling us everything you got. Because I'm blown away ever since you messaged us.
As I was sending them to you, and then I seen little bubble gum. I was like, oh my gosh, I hope I'm not waking them up because it's way late at night after my kids are all asleep, and when I was because that's when I struggle with it, when I'm just by myself and I'm thinking and I can't get it off my mind.
I get it. Heather, we certainly appreciate you being on the show and telling us your story and what information you have, and
we know you're struggling, but appreciate it
and what you think about what you saw and it being Asha degree and David Crabtree. Yeah, I'm just blown away by that, and all your research. So hopefully we get this out there and get more people to listen to it and get people
traction.
Yeah, get it moving.
Yes, sir. And thank you. I want to tell y'all again, thank you so much. You can't even imagine how much it means. And thank y'all. And also I want to say to David Crabtree and Asha Degree's family that I don't mean any disrespect, and I give y'all the utmost respect, and I have nothing but good wishes, and I'm praying for them. All
right, Heather, I hope you have a good night, and we appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hey, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, Dale. Man, we want to thank Heather again.
We need to slow down a second.
Yeah. There's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
What she's been through and whatever she's had to do and the research she's done and the people she's talked to and the doors being shut in her face.
Yeah, and I get it, and it's an older case and this stuff, but man, I don't know. It just seems to me that you can find time to look at something.
Yeah.
I mean, here and there, I don't know.
But I'll tell you though, man, she seems so genuine, and in her heart and in her mind, she believes that she saw Asha Degree in the back of that car.
Yeah.
And David Crabtree, yeah. And I'm not one to dispute it. I respect it 100%, and I hope that she has some information that law enforcement can use to maybe bring some closure to some of these cases.
Or at least get them going again.
Yeah. Get some traction anyway.
You know, like we say, we put it out there to anybody who's got anything or thinks they have anything or anything to add. Let us know, and we'll do what we can with it. And we've had several people reach out to us, but nothing like this one.
No, and some of them we're eventually going to use. It's just we're just waiting for the right time and moment to do those. Trying to figure it out.
Oh yeah,
yeah. But if anybody has any information on Asha degree and wants to come forward and talk to us, we'll certainly be glad to talk to you.
Yep, we'll listen.
Absolutely. All right, Dale. Man, we're going to get out of here.
All right, let's roll.
We want everyone to be safe. Just please be careful and always be aware of your surroundings.
Because the next episode could be about you.
This is the Crack House Chronicles.